from U.S. tariffs to cybersecurity and AI, what's next for the BPO industry? We're joined live by Jack Madrid, President and CEO of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines. Welcome to the program.
It's good to be back here.
That's IBPAP for short. Okay, Jack, last year, BPO industry contributed $38 billion to the economy, Philippine economy, 8.5% of GDP, 1.8 million jobs. Now with the outlook dimming in the U.S., do you think this will continue, the growth will continue?
We're still off to a good start.
Oh, you think?
This year. There are continuing stream of investors, both prospective and existing locators, who are still looking to establish operations or expand their footprint in the Philippines. So there's no indication of any slowdown. I like to say there's more demand than supply.
Yesterday, the GDP figures for the first 3 months of the U.S. showed a 0.3 decline. You don't think that will affect topics that you're talking about because, companies will downsize, will look for savings if all the tariffs push through?
Well, overall, I think the Philippine economy is relatively insulated. So I think we should be okay. The tariffs seem to only affect goods, so the manufacturing sector. We've not heard of any impact so far on services.
Of course, but then the companies that we service will be affected by the tariffs.
Yeah, macroeconomics will always play a role in decisions. But there's one thing we should all remember. Philippine IT-BPM is not just about cost savings anymore.
What is it?
The Philippine brand is very strong. The Filipino digital worker is known for being a world leader in delivering customer experience. So I think, I like to say, the whole world wants a Filipino to resolve their problem.
Oh.
And that is because of not just our communication, but our empathy.
Okay, but you mentioned, Jack, that there is still demand, which means we are you're seeing that if there is something short, it's the supply side. Because we just got kind of disturbing statistics coming out from the PSA saying that about 1/5 of all graduates from senior high school.
It's not something to laugh about.
It's not something, but it's really disturbing. And this could actually also harm supply side.
Well, we've faced this talent supply gap for quite a number of years. I mean, this industry, has proven its resilience despite the fact that there are two major issues that have always faced us. So the first one is the ease of doing business.
The red tape.
Red tape, bureaucracy, changing rules in the middle of the game. On the other hand, there's always going to be an issue of, do we have enough employable talent to meet the demand? Because work types are going to change with technology and AI. So we need to upgrade our repertoire of skills to meet these growing work types. And we've always talked about how do we get higher value jobs. So it's not just the number of jobs, but the revenue per digital Filipino worker.
But how alarming is that, Jack? I mean, that statistic of having 19 million graduates who
Quite.
are functionally illiterate.
Because this is a human capital intensive industry. So any degradation of our educational sector, anything that affects skills, will have an impact because we rely on that bedrock of human capital and talent.
So is IBPAP doing anything to address this? Are you working with educational institutions? Are you funding training?
Yes to all of the above. We work with every single government stakeholder from DepEd. In fact, we continue to meet with Secretary Sani Angara, even though that's just elementary and high school. We have good relationships and programs with CHED. And most significantly, I have a renewed sense of hope with our working relationship with Director General Kiko Benitez of TESDA. So we have a number of exciting plans. With TESDA supporting us with scholarship funds, we hope to meet our ambitious and aggressive target of 2.5 million digital
Yes, by
Filipino workers.
2028 and $59 billion
In revenue.
in revenue. That's still achievable.
Well, it's a
despite-
stretch. I think we will meet our baseline target of 2.2 million
By when? By when?
by
In 2
by
years?
2028. But I'm not thinking about that. I'm thinking about our aggressive target of 2.5. But we will not get there without upskilling and reskilling our existing workforce and our incoming university graduates.
Are your members not worried at all about the global economy outlook? You know,
Well,
with the-
I think the short answer is yes. The situation today is fraught with uncertainty.
Yeah, yeah.
Every day there's a change.
Yeah.
And that overhang is what's disturbing because it's hard to plan
Yes.
when you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So our industry needs to focus on running
As if there were none.
our operations and
I
focusing
guess
on
that's
that.
what's about Filipinos. That's the difference. I mean, you see the Singaporean PM very much worried, talking to Parliament about an emergency situation, and yet everyone we interview in this show has not shown the same concern.
They see the bright side.
Yeah.
They see the
We have a lot of
opportunities.
optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah. You too.
Well, about the IT-BPM industry, I'm still optimistic because there is still more demand. That's
Where is it coming from, though?
Okay, yeah,
Okay, is it
yeah,
coming
yeah.
from
primarily
the US?
North America.
Still.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But get this, there are more contact center workers in the U.S. than here. So
And
they're
of
not
course the-
cheaper
yeah,
than we are.
No, but the political winds are, they want to provide the jobs to Americans. So there will be, you don't see
We've
that
heard less of that
now.
this time compared to 2016.
You're talking about Trump
Yes,
1
Trump
versus
1
Trump,
and Trump
2.
2, yes.
Okay. But I'd like to focus on 2024, which was a banner year for the IT-BPM industry because you actually overtook OFW remittances. Back when I was covering business, that's what we were waiting for when the graph lines would cross, and it finally happened last year. Despite the uncertainty and the economic headwinds, what was the strength that pushed the IT-BPM industry forward last year?
Well, the higher demand and the continuing higher demand is because of Filipino talent. It's really that, and relatively the stability under the present administration of rules and regulations. If you recall, 3 years ago, feels longer. We didn't even know whether we could get remote work or work flexibility during the tail end of
Pandemic,
COVID,
the
during the
pandemic.
pandemic. But we have a relatively stable work environment now, thanks to the good work of Secretary Frederick Go. We got Create More passed that provides a lot of transparency and stability to the regulatory environment, including work from home.
Okay, what about the threat of India? That was one other threat. If there was one other country breathing down our necks in terms of, the BPO industry, it's India.
Well, they are number one. The sheer number will always, make them number one. But I don't really see it as a competition because there is enough work for everybody. They have the same issues we do. Talent. We're all looking for employable talent. They have their strength. Filipinos have ours.
Where is ours?
Well, aside from communication and our cultural affinity with North America, it's really the empathy that the world knows us for.
But Jack, I wanted to go back also to the point you made earlier that it's no longer just the number of jobs. You have to take a look if we're providing value-adding services, right? So what
Higher value.
higher value-adding services? So what would you say are the skills that are most in demand today?
Oh, it's a great question. And it keeps changing every 6 months or 12 months. But I would place those skills in two buckets. The first bucket, some people call it soft skills, are all about communication, empathy, problem solving, critical thinking. It's all their leadership at the higher levels. So that's important. That cuts across all the different industries of IT-BPM. And then the other bucket would be specific domain skills. We all know about the shortage of nurses, but there's also a shortage of accountants, analysts, bankers. All aspects of healthcare is also in demand. Pharmacists. So,
For instance, you said JP Morgan is even expanding
Yes.
its operations here. What are the services that they're after?
well, I mean, obviously, American consumers are their primary target. They provide credit analysis. They provide a lot of front-end customer experience, whether it's credit cards or mortgages. But they also have quite sophisticated high-value tasks, such as monitoring network security across U.S. branches.
If the U.S. economy enters a recession, will, for instance, JP Morgan or another U.S. company downscale those services that we provide? Will they cut costs?
Well, you know, cost optimization is always going to be a criteria for a locator. And one thing I can say is we are not the cheapest anymore.
Okay.
But neither are we the most expensive. Having said that, there are still more contact center employees in the U.S. itself, which is much more expensive than we are. So any recession will impact them first.
Before us.
Because they're
before
expensive.
before
At saka
the
nagtayo
offshoring
na sila
countries.
Siguro magdadalawang isip sila. They've
Besides,
opened new offices.
I think the Philippines is too entrenched, especially with North American companies. It will be very hard for them to pull out.
But let's go to AI this time. What are the threats and what are the advantages? Where can we see opportunities with the advent of AI?
IT-BPM as an industry has worked with AI for almost a decade. You know, when we deployed chatbots and robotic process automation. We were worried about the impact of jobs then.
Pero
It didn't happen.
Yeah.
Generative AI and agentic AI will be different because agentic AI can reason, can make decisions. The question is, what functions will you allow agentic AI to make those decisions now? If it's managing your bank account or your medical records, maybe not just yet. So there will always be important tasks that will need human judgment or an important decision to be made. So we're not seeing it yet. Any impacted jobs from AI so far?
No, but how can we turn it into an advantage?
Oh, well, that is where we need comprehension, communication,
Okay.
and critical thinking because the best
Naku.
agents now.
Bumalik na
Doon
tayo
na nga
doon.
tayo kulang.
Yeah. Well, we need to really beef up those skills because those are the skills needed to use AI
use, yeah.
tools
Yeah.
to create super agents.
Yeah.
Our members have begun using AI tools, and the findings are that it improves the performance of the average performing agents, less so than the best performing agents. So it raises the average, which is a good thing.
It is a good thing. But you guys have been really busy. I see every so often on my timeline a news article that IBPAP has partnered with the DTI to like set new standards. You've partnered with Google Philippines, I think.
Yeah, offering an AI essentials course to the faculty of institutions of learning.
And do you think this is going to help our supply side problem?
Well, my team and I will do whatever it takes, across all stakeholders to solve this. We are very focused on talent upskilling and reskilling. It's the only thing we need to solve now that our regulatory regime is stable.
Well, speaking of talent, Jack, I was watching your interview the last time you were here in the Big Story, and you did encourage people. You said, study what you want, be good at it, because there will be a job for you in IT-BPM.
Yes.
Does that still hold true in this changing landscape?
Absolutely, because the IT-BPM is composed of many industries. In fact, I'll argue
that's true.
all industries. So,
Dati akala nila call center lang
yeah,
kasi.
we're not
Yeah.
operators who do simple directory assistance type calls. If you look at the healthcare, the things we do, we even take care of U.S. patients in, in hospitals over there. So, you know, be good at what you do, that's domain skills, but have that set of soft skills that are needed.
When it comes to the labor force, which last year made 38 billion, that you were saying that's just 1.8 million employees who made 38 billion. That's a pipe dream for most middle-class Filipinos. What are you guys looking for right now in terms of talent? Just to build on Paui's question, I'm sure people might be listening and they might think, you know, this job pays incredibly well if it can make that much money.
Certainly well above, you know, average salaries. And I think I would like Filipino families to view the IT-BPM industry as a long-term career for...
What courses should they be looking at?
Communications.
Oh, para
Dapat ba IT?
they can focus this
Well, you know,
early?
I encourage families and students to study what they want to be good at. There
Anything.
will be a role for them. Just be good at what you do. Have those
The arts.
have those
What if
qualitative
it were the
skills.
arts?
Oh, our creative industry
Graphic artists.
is thriving. It's coming from a smaller base. But Filipinos are very creative people. We are behind many of the Hollywood blockbusters. So I think you should pursue what your real interests are and just have a lot of grit, you know, and determination to succeed, because that's what our industry
You know,
is about.
what's happening now with the rise in functional illiteracy rates is the short attention span of our youth. You know, yung Gen Alpha. Iba na tayo. You're, I don't know, Gen, ano ka ba? Baby boomer!
I don't think boomers si Jack.
Anyhow, yeah.
Gen X, Gen X.
What would you...
It's a
how would you
global
address this?
issue.
Yeah.
You know, it's I think which the flip side of which is the solution. All the knowledge, all the information, all the learning is actually on that phone,
Yeah.
and most of it is free.
But
Let's make a conscious decision
But
to
dyan
spend
na nga
our
siguro-
time reading
good things.
more productive.
Things that will make you more knowledgeable,
yes.
hindi yung wasted
or too much
time.
social media. I mean,
You're talking
so-
about like digesting and be more
That's
discerning with
true.
the content that you...
Yeah, but how
Just
do you...
read something good, 15 minutes a day. It will, or learn some new AI tools to make you more
I
productive.
was gonna not grab a book.
Well, anything that's interesting to you know, just do something every day.
Actually,
Be
no.
better than you were yesterday.
The irony is it's all in your phone, but it's your phone also that leads you to become dumber.
Well, that's a global phenomenon,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a factor here.
But how, did you notice any... I remember when I finished college, it was my generation that was like at the forefront of the boom in BPO industry. At that time, I think it was mostly really call centers where you teach people to speak with the twang. It was more or less like that. But now, for the Gen Zs, the Gen Alphas who are coming into the workforce, what kind of jobs in the IT-BPM industry do they actually seek?
The fastest growing sectors are in banking and financial services and healthcare. And this has led the growth of what is referred to as the GCC sector of IT-BPM. That stands for Global Capability Centers. So these are wholly owned branches and operations of multinationals. JP Morgan being an example, or HSBC, or Optum. So the people who work in these companies are employees of these companies, servicing these companies' customers globally.
How many percent is from North America?
Over 60%.
60, and the 40% is.
Rest of the world, Europe,
So should
Asia
we not
Pacific.
focus on also our efforts on kind of growing the
Yes.
market?
Yes, we go on investment missions. In fact, next week
Where are
we
the
are going to
prospects?
Australia.
Okay.
Australia makes a lot of sense because of an overlap of time zone, because we have some daytime capacity.
Correct.
There's
that
no need
needs
for a
to be full.
graveyard
Yeah.
shift.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and
Australia.
it's really more cost efficient. We are underpenetrated with the UK and some other countries
Is there
because
sorry, go ahead.
we're so associated with North America.
Yes.
I was thinking it's
We
because
should-
we speak English.
Very American.
Is there
It
any
started
way
that
for
way.
us to like service a country that is not English
Native
speaking?
language capability is something Filipinos are very good at. Many of IBPAP's members, have grown significant businesses with non-English capabilities. There are some native speakers who live in the Philippines who have helped us develop that. I'm particularly keen on Asian languages, for example.
But Jack,
And maybe Spanish can be another
Wow,
one.
Wow, that sounds so
matagal yun.
difficult.
but Jack,
China.
Chinese?
Well,
Chinese.
Well, with the cost difference, there's really a third layer of IT-BPM competition that we also need to consider.
Okay.
It's not just India and the Philippines anymore. You have destinations like Colombia, South Africa, Poland, Egypt that have emerged, but they cannot scale like the Philippines and India.
But digitally, Jack, I also noticed a growing trend of individuals pursuing freelancing, becoming virtual assistants, becoming their own bosses. Is that a big threat to the IT BPM industry?
It's a factor because it's obviously another, I guess,
You're losing
competitive,
talent, ano?
another competitive arena
Yeah.
where they could have joined IT-BPM,
Yeah.
but they're doing freelancing work.
Yeah.
So I acknowledge that. As a Filipino, I know that that's still a job. I mean, everyone has a right to choose what they work, but there are some gray areas that need to be looked at. Because
Which
some
are?
of these employers, are not formally registered
Yeah.
in the Philippines.
Right.
That they're not JP Morgan, for example, so you don't have that
Exactly.
security.
walang
So
protection.
who's protecting the rights of those employees, labor standards? So there are some factors that need to be considered. So some education is needed.
But has it impacted your sector significantly? Have people quit because ayaw na nila mag-graveyard, magiging virtual assistant
The
na lang?
driving reason for freelancing, in my opinion, is the work flexibility, 100% working from home. So it's another layer of competition for IBPAP members to consider.
I would have thought COVID kind of changed that for the sector. I mean, a lot of IT BPM workers had to go online and work from home already
yes.
during COVID. So I thought maybe it's stuck, or at
The
least some of
industry
it.
would adjust to
Yeah,
that
sort
kind
of.
of.
Well, I think we successfully
blended.
adjusted
Yes.
to hybrid work. But there is no one number for everybody because our industry is so diverse and we all have different customers, different industries. There's no one number, there's no one size fits all.
Right.
And it also depends on the privacy of data. Some industries are more
Yeah.
sensitive to
Right.
data privacy than others.
So before we let you go, what's your forecast for the year?
IBPAP is reviewing our projections.
Okay.
It is the midpoint of our roadmap 2028. So I'll have a more intelligent answer to your question by June 30.
But roughly up or down?
It's
up.
going to be a plus
Okay.
number.
Okay.
And I'm fairly optimistic we will touch 2 million digital Filipino workers in 2026.
Oh, wow.
Okay. From 1.8 in 2024.
Yes. So I'd like to invite the three of you to one of the industry's biggest events, Solaya IT-BPM Industry Awards on June 11th, where we recognize the best of the best. It's going to be on June 11th, and we will recognize the best of each category of IT-BPM.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We will mark it in our calendar.
The wine will be good.
Are you telling Sean?
Or Paui.
Well, thank you very much.
I think it's me.
Jack Madrid, President and CEO of the IT and Business Process Association of the Philippines.